So my name is Pam Kelly. I'm the dual enrollment coordinator at Jefferson State. I'm also a member of Cahaba Academy, so I'm very excited to be able to share this information with all of you today. I have two other people who work in the office with me. Tyann Lindell is our dual enrollment instructional specialist. And then we have Amber Howard, who is our office manager, and she processes all of our documents for students. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the distinction in mine and Tyann's roles a little bit later on in the presentation. So what is dual enrollment? Dual enrollment is a chance for high school students to take college level courses either at their high school campus, which is not really for Cahaba, since you don't have a campus where you do a co-op. But if things grow into a co-op situation, we certainly have had students do dual enrollment courses at homeschool co-ops. So that is something that we could consider doing later on. But your students would be eligible to take courses either online or at one of the Jefferson State campuses. Students who complete dual enrollment courses are eligible to receive both high school and college credit. And they do receive credit in both of those areas. So it does count toward high school graduation requirements, but it is also the beginning of your student's college transcript. And that is very important to keep in mind when you're considering participating in dual enrollment. Some of the benefits of dual enrollment, the first one that if you're like me is very attractive is that it allows you to save money, because Jefferson State's tuition is less expensive than most four-year universities. The classes that students take in dual enrollment transfer to a four-year institution. I will say that if you have a student who is taking a class and planning to transfer to either a private school in the state of Alabama or somewhere out of state, you will need to check with that college to make sure that the classes will transfer in the way that you anticipate they will transfer. If you have a student who is going to take classes and transfer to a public college in the state of Alabama, you can use the STARS guide to see how those classes will transfer. And I can give you information about the STARS guide later on. Okay, it also will help shorten the amount of time it takes your student to attain a college degree, because your student can get several semesters of work behind them while they're still in high school, depending on what grade they start dual enrollment. One thing that is a benefit that a lot of students don't realize is that they have access to anything that our traditional students have. They have access to all the libraries, all the services, tutoring, anything like that we provide, and they are also eligible to participate in our student organizations. And then the thing that the students tend to be most excited about is it helps them avoid unnecessary duplication of coursework. I know when my girls were in high school, they said if they had to learn about Christopher Columbus one more time, they would scream. So if they do History 201, then they can get their high school Christopher Columbus and their college Christopher Columbus all in one course, so they don't have to duplicate that. So let's look at eligibility. In order to be eligible to take dual enrollment courses at Jeff State, your student must be in the 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. Students are not considered in the 10th grade until the fall of their 10th grade year. So students who are graduating from or completing 9th grade this spring will not be eligible to take classes this summer, but they could take classes in the fall. A student must have a 2.5 cumulative unweighted GPA or higher. And then there are different classes that students can take. They can take the general studies classes, the transfer classes, such as math, English, psychology, speech, history. They can take science, all sorts of things. The students at Jeff State can also take career and technical education program classes such as child development, computer information systems, EMS. Our EMS program allows students to earn the basic EMT certificate, but it is only available to students who are seniors. They can also take classes in manufacturing technology and office administration. We're going to talk a lot more about those programs a little bit later because there is a scholarship available to dual enrollment students who are participating in one of those programs. So we talked about what you have to be eligible, but just because your student is eligible doesn't necessarily mean that the student is ready. So I like to also give some guidelines for knowing if your student is ready for dual enrollment. So these are questions that I tell students to ask themselves. Do you accept personal responsibility for organizing your work and meeting deadlines? Do you regularly monitor emails and class announcements? I know we don't have as much of those as homeschoolers as they do in public schools. Are you a self-advocate? For students who are on here who may not know what that term means, it just means, are you comfortable asking for help when you need help? Do you have effective study skills and time management skills? And do you have sufficient time for studying outside of class? So these classes are going to require that you study not just during the class time, but outside of class. Because you will only be meeting in class, if you're doing an on-campus option, you'll only be meeting each class 2 days a week, but you will need time on these classes on the other days of the week and possibly on the weekend, depending what kind of assignments you have that particular week. So if you answered yes, that you're eligible, and yes, you're ready, the first step in the admission process is to complete the Jefferson State online dual enrollment application. That application can be accessed at www.jeffersonstate.edu/DE application. I will let you know that I am, in addition to recording this and sending out the link, there are some papers, some print material that I'm going to send out to you. One of the flyer that I'm going to send has a QR code that will send you directly to the application, but there's also going to be a detailed checklist that takes you from applying all the way through to paying for your courses and getting started. So that will come to you too. So don't feel like you have to write all of this down. Once you complete the online enrollment application, then you will work with Ms. Terry on some of these things, and some of these things below you'll send to us directly since you are a homeschool student. The signature page you're going to work with Ms. Terry on. So that will need to be signed by the student, the parent or guardian, and Ms. Terry. And that signature page it doesn't only authorize you to participate in the program, that's the page that you give us that tells us the classes you want us to register you for. I'm going to go at the end of the program, I'm going to share my screen and go on our website and show you some things. One of the things I'm going to show you is how to look at our schedule of classes so you can decide which class you want to participate in, because we're going to ask you for a certain code for that class, and I'm going to show you how to get that code. Then you'll need to submit a high school transcript, and Ms. Terry can help you with that as well. That's pretty easy with our homeschool reporting online. What we need you to do is send an unexpired photo ID, and that photo ID will need to be sent to our email at dualenrollment@jeffersonstate.edu. That's dualenrollment@jeffersonstate.edu. And placement test scores. So I'm not sure if we have a way to report our test scores on our transcript or if those will need to be sent directly from ACT, but you only have to have ACT scores or placement scores for English or math courses. And we will discuss in just a minute what you can do to get into those classes if you've not yet taken the ACT. On the application, this is the last page of the application, and to me it's one of the most important pages because this is a place where your student can authorize you to get information about their registration and account balance. When your student takes a class at Jefferson State, they are considered a college student, and they are protected under FERPA the same way any other college student is protected, even though they are a minor. So for those of you who are not familiar with FERPA, most of you probably are familiar with HIPAA. So I will tell you, FERPA is kind of the education's equivalent to HIPAA. So we can't give out information about a student's registration, their balance due, any of that without their permission. And this is where your student can give you permission to get that information. So the box next to the purple arrow, if they will put your email address in that box, and then that statement under the box says, I understand my FERPA rights as a student, and I do authorize that the parent or guardian I have listed in this application be included on the communication of the status of my dual enrollment application, course registration, and account balance. That gives us permission to send you the email that we send the student once we register them, and it will tell their Jefferson State email address, which will be their login for their student portal. It will include their student ID number. It will include the classes that we registered them in based on what you submitted on the signature page. It will list the total amount that is due for those classes. And then there are a lot of very helpful links that also come in that email. How to log in to your portal for the first time, how to pay your balance, how to set up ADA accommodations if your student needs accommodations in high school, how to access the library, how to access Blackboard, which is important. That's our course management software. So if your student is taking an online course, they will definitely need to know how to access Blackboard. It also has our calendar dates and how to sign up for emergency alert notifications via phone or email, which on days like today are great because I got a text this morning when I got to work saying that our campus was going to close at noon. So if there's any campus closures or if anything were to happen on campus, then you're alerted immediately to your phone. So we talked about placement, needing placement scores for if you're going to do math or English. There are 3 different ways to place into English and math courses. They can do it on ACT subscore alone. For our math classes, there are some options for placing into a class based on a combination of the ACT subscore and the grade in a specific class. And then the final option is by taking the AccuPlacer placement test that is offered through Jeff State. If you're looking at taking an English or math course, I'm going to show you what the ACT placement criteria is for English 101. The only way to place in this course is to have an 18 English subscore. We do not look at the cumulative score for ACT. We're only looking at subscores. Intermediate college algebra, which is Math 100, students would also need an 18 math subscore. I will say that we just recently found out, and I need to update my slide, placement criteria for Math 110, which is finite mathematics, also has a placement of 18 math subscore. That finite mathematics, it can be a great course depending on your student's major. It is not a course that a student who is going in a STEM field would need, but non-STEM majors, that can often be the final math course that they need. They may not need the pre-calculus classes. So it's definitely worth checking into the major and the college that your student wants to attend if you're looking at taking a math course, to find out if they just need the Math 110 or if they do have to have one of the pre-cal classes. Speaking of pre-cal, Math 112 is our pre-cal with algebra. There are 2 ways to place into this class. You can have an ACT subscore of 20 or higher and a C or higher in high school Algebra 2, pre-calculus, or calculus, or placement based on subscore alone would require a 24 or 25 on the math portion of the ACT. For Math 113, which is pre-calculus with trig, the placement criteria is ACT subscore of 20 or higher and a C or higher in high school pre-calculus or calculus, or a 26 ACT math subscore. The highest math that a student can place into at Jeff State is Calculus 1, and that would require an ACT subscore of 20 or higher and C or higher in high school pre-calculus or calculus, or a 27 math subscore. If your student has not taken the ACT and would like to take English or math courses through dual enrollment, they can place into classes using our AccuPlacer placement test. This is given, right now it's being administered online. So students, we are recommending that you register early for this because the testing center is not able to test as many students in a day as they are when they give the test in person. So make sure you register early. You can register for the AccuPlacer test by going to jeffersonstate.edu/testing and follow the instructions that are in the top box there. One thing to note here is that it does require that you do your application to the college first, because you must provide your A number, which is your student ID number, in order to register for the AccuPlacer test. I will say, I'll take the time now to say that once students apply, they complete the online admissions application for dual enrollment, every Friday we send out an email to students who applied that week, and we give them their email address and their A number so they can go ahead and register for this AccuPlacer. We also offer free test prep for the math sections of the AccuPlacer through our library and learning success centers. The cost of tuition. So this is a biggie for parents. I know we all want these opportunities, but for most of us, money is a concern. So I will say that that top bullet doesn't apply since you do not have classes on your high school campus. So they did do a tuition freeze for all the community colleges this year. So there will not be an increase in tuition this year. So our tuition rate right now is $164 per credit hour, and that is tuition and fees included. Most of our courses are 3 credit hours. So whether your student takes a class online or on a Jeff State campus, a 3 credit hour course would be $492. There are multiple ways to pay. Payment is due at the time of registration, and we will send you that email that I was telling you about earlier to let you know how to do payment. Payment can be made on our campus. It can be made by mail, even though we do not recommend that you send a check in the mail. It can be done if that's your only way you can do it. The easiest way and the way most people choose is to pay by credit or debit card online, and that's done through your student's portal. And you will get information on how to log into that portal and make that payment in that registration email. If you have a PACT account set up for your student, which is the prepaid affordable college tuition plan, you can use PACT to pay for dual enrollment courses, and you can authorize PACT for either tuition and fees or tuition only, but that's the phone number that you would need to call to activate your PACT early. Now, we talked about those CTE programs, and I told you that there were scholarships available for those. Those scholarships are made available by the Alabama legislature, and students must complete a CTE scholarship application. That application can be found online. We are in the process of setting up a redirect for that, so it is easier to find. Once that gets set up, it's going to be jeffersonstate.edu/DE scholarship. Right now, you can find the link on our dual enrollment page on the website, and I will show you that at the end when I share our website with you. So we looked at those programs earlier that are covered under that scholarship. The ones here that are highlighted in yellow can be completed online. And I know at least right now the office administration certificates and degree program is only being offered online. So there's not even an option to come on campus and do those classes. I want to also point out that even though the child development courses, the lecture part and all of that is online, each one of the courses in that program require 20 field hours for every course. So those will be done, either your student will go into a licensed facility to complete those 20 hours. Our dual enrollment students do have the option of doing some of those observation hours via YouTube videos that are approved by our accrediting agency there. So why would a student choose to do CTE? Because you may not think about doing this a lot. A lot of people associate dual enrollment with English, math, psychology, all those general transfer classes, but they don't think a lot about the CTE programs and why you would want to do that. So it does offer an opportunity for a student to receive a credential while they are still in high school. Now, it is not possible for them to earn, well, I won't say not. We do have one student who is getting ready to earn an associate degree at the same time that they graduate, but most students are not going to make it through the whole 2-year program because you're looking at about 60 to 62 credit hours of coursework. But we do have certificate options in these programs. And so most of these programs offer a short certificate that's around 24 hours, and then a long certificate, and then the degree itself. And those certificates build on each other. So once you've done the short certificate, you add a few more classes and you get to the long certificate, add a few more classes, and you get to the degree program. Studies show that high school students who are involved in CTE are more engaged, they perform better and graduate at higher rates. And our CTE programs address the needs of high growth industries and help close the skills gap in those industries. And as we mentioned, we do offer 5 funded programs that lead to industry recognized credentials. I will say that scholarship for the CTE programs covers 2 classes in the fall, 2 classes in the spring, and up to 4 classes in the summer. And that covers tuition fees and textbooks for those courses. Things to keep in mind: these are college courses and your grades are the beginning of your college GPA. That is one of the most important things to keep in mind as you're making this decision and as your student is trying to decide if he or she is truly ready for dual enrollment courses. I will say that I have 2 girls who are going to participate in dual enrollment this year. They were, or this next year, they were eligible to participate this past year. And that is the one thing that gave them pause about starting early, because one of mine would have been just in the 10th grade, was they knew how important it was to make a good grade because it would be on their college transcript. And as you know, those grades on your college transcript stay there forever and ever and ever. So you do need to be mature and disciplined to complete the courses successfully. We talked about being ready and some of those things that you need to know to be ready for courses and not just eligible. Students can take up to 2 approved classes per semester. And then the biggest thing, if you are having a problem in a class, or if your student is having a problem in a class, they need to communicate early and often with the instructor. And you can contact Ms. Terry, or you can contact me directly. I won't go into detail about this, but I do want you to know that students who participate in dual enrollment are eligible for some scholarships at Jefferson State after they graduate from high school that our other students are not eligible for. We have a counselor scholarship for the career and technical programs as long as you're enrolling in a non-health CTE program. And those are I'll just let you read through those qualifications there. And then we also have a dual enrollment achievement scholarship. This year we're going to do 50 half tuition and fees scholarships. So it will cover tuition and fees for so 50% of tuition and fees. And there are ACT requirements for these scholarships and GPA requirements. There are not essays required for the scholarships, so that is one nice thing. And students do have to successfully complete 6 or more credit hours in a Jefferson State dual enrollment program to qualify for this one. So I told you earlier that we would talk about kind of the distinctions between mine and Tyenne's job. I will say we overlap in a lot of things. We try to know each other's job as well as our own. So don't ever feel like you are stressed out about who to contact. You're welcome to contact either or both of us. If you're unsure, I always tell everyone, contact dualenrollment@jeffersonstate.edu because we both check that email, and the appropriate representative will respond to the email. In general, you would contact me with questions about admissions, advising, registration, and anything to do with the career and technical education programs and grant scholarship. Tyanne will deal with questions about instructors, grades, and getting your JSCC transcript either for scholarship application purposes or once you have graduated from high school. That is the end of that, but as I said, I'm going to move over. Actually, I think before I do that, does anybody have questions about anything that we've talked about so far? Since there's not so many of us on here, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask if you have a question.
I do have questions. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can now.
Okay. With regard to the CTE scholarships and the application for dual enrollment, when do we need to start those applications?
Great question, because I told Ms. Terry I was going to talk to you about this, and I forgot to mention it. We are starting fall registration earlier than we have ever started it before. So if you think your student wants to do dual enrollment, do the application today. As soon as you can do it, go ahead and do it. Completing the application does not commit you to anything. But it is one of the steps that will delay your student getting registered. So I say go ahead and do the application now. It takes about 5 minutes. It is super simple. And just make sure when your student gets ready to do it, they have your email address and their social security number. Those are the two things that students tend to not have when they sit down to do the application. Another thing is I encourage you to let your student do the application. Don't complete the application for them. It really is good practice. Dual enrollment is good practice for preparing them for college. And they shouldn't know how to do everything. So definitely sit with them and make sure they do it correctly, but let them go through and do it themselves. We are requesting that all paperwork be turned in for registration. So that would be your signature page, your transcript, your ID, that all of that be turned in by April 30th. I know Ms. Terry's going to want that a little bit earlier because she's got to look through those signature pages, sign them, and then get them to me. The reason we ask for that so early is because we have to process that paperwork before registration starts. And this year, our fall registration is starting on May 17th. Now we do a staggered registration. So on May 17th, the only people who can register are people who have 45 credit hours or more. So we won't be registering dual enrollment students until May the 20th. I told Ms. Terry before we started, I like to register all of our homeschool students first. And the reason for that is because your students are competing with our traditional students for seats either in an online class or an in-person class. We have a lot of our larger high schools like Hewitt-Trussville, Hoover, Thompson, Spain Park. They offer classes on their high school campus. So if we don't register them, we don't make this a practice, but if we were not to register them until the last day of registration, all their students would still get registered because there would still be seats available. But your students, if we don't register them early and a class closes, then we're just out of luck. So we don't want that to happen. We can ask for instructors to give overrides in some courses. Some courses, they are not allowed to do capacity overrides. So in order to avoid that problem altogether, I want all of our homeschool groups to be at the top of the list for registration and able to be registered on May the 20th.
So for us, for Cahaba, since she's saying y'all need to be registered and everything paperwork turned in by the 30th of April, I'm gonna say for Cahaba, you need to have it into me, the signature page, by April 23rd. That's the Friday before the 30th. So that gives me a week to make sure that I have everybody's stuff and I can upload it.
Any other questions? That was a good one. Thank you for bringing that up.
Did you say that when as to the scholarship application, is that the one that you said you're gonna update us when the link is available?
Yes, so the link is available. We just don't have the shortcut to the link. Can you see my website right now? The Jeff State website?
Yes.
Okay, if you will go to programs and high school student programs, and then over here on this sidebar, if you choose career and technical education, this link up here this is a hyperlink, career and technical education scholarship for dual enrollment students. If you will click on that hyperlink, it's going to take you to the application. This is another thing that students have to do their online application before they can access this scholarship application, because they're going to have to log into their, they don't really log into their portal, but they use the same credentials that they use to log into their portal to get into the scholarship application. So if I were to click this now, it may actually take me in immediately since I'm already logged in. No. So up here, it's showing, it's going to ask for your students' credentials up here before you can access the application. I'm going to go in just so you can see how easy the application is. So it has just a few questions. First, they need to choose their grade level. So let's say we have a student in the 11th grade, and then we would need to choose the high school, and y'all are Cahaba, the program of study. So if you'll notice, because I have an 11th grader, I don't have the option of registering for the EMT program. If I were to go back and say I have a 12th grader, that EMT option shows up there. So if I want to be in office administration, and one thing to tell you about is it looks like there's only 5 programs that you can work in. And that's true, but these are umbrella programs that have a lot of different tracks under them. So let's just look at manufacturing technology tends to be one of our most popular CTE programs. So if I go there, it's going to ask me which option I want. Well, I've got all of these things to choose from under manufacturing technology. I can do automotive manufacturing, biomedical equipment, computer-aided drafting and design, electronics, manufacturing systems, technology, or welding. So there are a lot of different options. You go back up here and change to computer information systems, and you have 4 options there. So you would choose one. This app development it's our only program that the certificate does not build into the long certificate and the degree. It is called the Swift App Development, and it is a 9 credit hour certificate program, but all of those classes build on each other, so you could only take one course each semester. And then like I said, we do offer textbooks for these courses. So you would let us know which campus is the most convenient for you to pick up textbooks. And then your student is going to have to acknowledge these statements. Students must make a C or better in all the courses each semester to be continuously eligible for future semester participation and or CTE scholarship funding. I understand that if I make a grade of D or F, or if I withdraw from a course after the add drop registration period, I must sit out 1 academic semester, not including summer, and I will receive no college or high school credit. And then I understand that grades I receive in college courses will remain on my permanent college transcript forever, and they may affect my future financial aid status. While we're on here and talking about these statements and continuous eligibility, for your students to have continuous eligibility for any dual enrollment, not just the CTE programs, they must make a grade of C or higher in their classes. If they make a D, an F, or if they withdraw, they will have to sit out 1 semester of dual enrollment, not including summer. So if your student was in classes this spring and they made a D, then they would not be eligible to take summer classes, but that's not their suspension term. Their suspension term would be fall, so they wouldn't be eligible again until next spring. Another reason it's important to know that your student is ready and not just eligible. This website has a lot of information. We're working on updating some things. But I will say, if you're looking for the application and the signature page, it's right here under admission policies. I'm going to show you this online application really quickly and how to get started, because some people get confused. So when your student goes on to do the application, assuming they've never been a student here before, you're going to click this first time user account creation, create a login ID. It can be whatever you want it to be. The PIN has to be at least 6 numbers. I don't know if it's going to let me do this one because I've done this one before, but I didn't ever proceed. Okay, so here's the beginning of the application. This is an important part here. This drop-down menu, if they just go continue, they're going to be filling out a first-time freshman application, which they do not want to do. So click that and select high school dual enrollment, continue, and then they're going to go in, make sure that the admission term they select, unless they're planning on taking classes this summer, which if they are, you need to do this immediately because registration has already started for summer. But I think most of you are probably interested in fall, so you would click fall, and then everything out, you're going to do your first name, last name, fill out the application. And that's where it's going to ask the information about your social security number, your address, phone number, email address, just basic information. Like I said, it's a simple application. The signature page is right under there. The signature page will also pop up after you submit your application, so you can print the signature page there. If you don't print it, that's okay. You can access it here. You'll complete the classes that you want in the fall term. If you already know what you want to do in the spring, you can do that as well. And that CRN that we're asking for is the course registration number. And I'm going to show you, that was what I was going to show you how to find. Ms. Terry, were you going to pop in with something there?
I just wanted to say, when you get this filled out, if you will just send it to me, attach it to an email to direct@cahabaacademy.org. .com, then I will have it and then I can upload it. I'll have it digitally. I'll also put it in your file.
Okay, perfect. So going back to that CRN and trying to decide on classes. If you need assistance in selecting courses that will transfer, or CTE program courses, anything like that, please let me know. I'll be happy to help you with advising on that. If you know you want to take English 101, but you don't know what CRN to put, because that CRN is going to determine whether it's online, whether it's in person, if it's in person, what time it meets, and also what instructors are teaching it. So you may have heard, you may have an older sibling who had a really good experience with this instructor, so you want to try to get that same instructor. So if you'll go to the main web page and go to class schedule, and then you're going to click online schedule, and don't get confused thinking that that's a schedule of our online classes. It's just the schedule of classes that is online, because down here we have printable schedules, but this online schedule stays the most up to date. You would select the term you're looking for, fall 2021. And if you are looking for an English 101 class, you would click English. Course number would be 101. And then let's say, for example, I'm going to show you some things that you can do here. We do have short session classes. We do not recommend that dual enrollment students take short session classes. Those are full semester classes, 16 weeks worth of material in 7 weeks. A student has to be very disciplined to do that, and we find that it's just difficult because high school students have so many other things going on. If you have some special circumstances that you would require a short session class, then you can call me. We can talk about that, and also I will. That has to be approved by Ms. Terry as well. So if you know you want to take a class on a campus and you want to take it on the Shelby Hoover campus, so you're looking for English 101 on the Shelby Hoover campus and you want the full term, you can also choose day or evening, but really these are the only two I typically fill out. Do a class search and nothing. They must not have it on there. I bet they still have them all as online. So let's say we're looking at all the campuses, and there we go. They're still building this schedule. So that's why they rolled over the fall schedule from this year where everything was online. So they're going back in, they're adding on-campus sections. But this number, this 5-digit number here, that is the CRN we're looking for. So look at this one. No, that one's online. I was hoping there would be one that was not online, but it looks like they all are. If they're not online, under time, it will give the time that the class meets, and days, it will either have, most of the time it's going to be MW, which means it meets on Monday and Wednesday, or TR means it meets on Tuesday and Thursday. There are some courses that meet on Friday for an extended period. I would be wary of those courses because you're talking about, I know I've seen math courses that only meet on Friday, but you meet on Friday for half a day. So if you don't like math, you probably don't want to sit in a 4-hour math course 1 day a week. It would be much better to split that up. But that is where you will find the CRN that's required for the, right there on the signature page. I'm going to send this next thing that I'm going to show you to your, to Ms. Terry, and she can send it out to everybody. This is a chart of how our classes work. So you have 2 different options for dual enrollment. You can do the academic dual enrollment classes. In this, you can take 2 courses per semester, student pays tuition, and these are the type of classes you're taking. The career and technical dual enrollment courses, there's 5 programs that are funded that you can choose from. These are scholarship funded courses, and you have some options for how you take those courses. So like I said, there's up to 2 courses, spring and fall, up to 4 classes in the summer. Let me say and be very honest, we do not recommend our traditional students take 4 classes in the summer. So we certainly don't recommend that dual enrollment students take 4 classes in the summer. That semester is condensed as well. So you're talking about 16 weeks of material in about 10 weeks for the summer. So we would not recommend that you take 4, but the scholarship will pay for up to 4. Now, your options for course selection, you can take just 1 CTE course that semester. You can take 2 CTE courses that semester, or you can take 1 CTE course and 1 approved academic course in the semester and get it paid for. Now, keep in mind, if you take the academic course, you also have to take that CTE course simultaneously. That's the only way it'll be covered under the scholarship. And those courses, only those academic courses that are approved, are only the English, math, and science that are required for your program of study. So we have some students who get into a CTE course and think they're going to get English 101 and English 102 paid for. And that is not the case unless your student is in child development or OAD. Those programs do require English 101 and English 102. Computer science, manufacturing technology, and EMS only require English 101. So if your student takes English 101 with their first CTE course, it's going to be paid for. If they take English 102 the next semester with another CTE course, the CTE course would be paid for, but the English 102 would not be paid for. So if you have any questions about this grant, it can be confusing. There's a lot to think about with this. If you have questions about that CTE scholarship that's grant funded from the legislature, please call me or email me. I'll be happy to sit down and explain any questions, anything about the grant, any questions you have.
Do you have to complete the entire CTE to get the scholarship, and how long does that take?
You do not. So there are, like I said, there's different things. So there are certificates within each program, and then there's a degree within the program. A lot of students are able to complete a certificate because you're looking at around 24 hours, 24 credit hours to complete the certificate. So that's very doable. If you don't do it, because if you only start your senior year, you're not going to be able to complete the certificate either. But that doesn't prevent you from getting the scholarship. So anybody is eligible for the scholarship. You don't have to complete the program to be able to receive the scholarship. What it does help you do is you become then competitive for that CTE scholarship for once you graduate that I was telling you about at the end of the presentation. I think there was a second part to your question I didn't answer. You can repeat it.
I think that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Perfect. I'm going to show you this one other thing that is the checklist that I told you. I'm also going to send this. This just has detailed information on how to complete the online application, all of the requirements for admission, AccuPlacer. It has all of those placement scores here for AccuPlacer and ACT. Tuition and fees, I'm going to have to update that because they did finalize fall 2021 and it is the same. Here, they'll want to follow the link on the email and how to pay by PACT. And here's a more in-depth of how to apply online and some troubleshooting.
Pam, just for their information, all of these documents, at least the ones that I had gotten from Alyssa, They are on our website, on Cahaba's website, because we have, if you go to membership resources, high school resources, there is a dual enrollment widget, and it has all of this in there.
Okay, perfect. I will send you this one, Terry, because we updated this a little bit because we did some
Okay,
redirects, so it's easier than having to go through the website to find the application.
that's perfect. You send it to me, we'll get it uploaded.
Perfect. Are there any other questions while we're still here? I will say, I know these sessions are, I always say they are like drinking from a fire hose. It is a whole lot of information crammed into a short amount of time. And if you're like me, you need a few days to sit back and process it all and think about it and what's going to work best for me. What path do I want to take? Do I want to try a CTE program? Do I want to stick with academic? So if you have questions later that you just haven't processed enough to think of them right now, please email me.